Hello everybody, Doggos23 TV right here, and Cyberpunk. Now, so I'm going to be making a short video right now, on how I do my photo mode setup. Um, it should be brief. So on Cyberpunk on PC, um, and opens photo mode. This is default photo mode. This is what default photo mode looks like. I have Reshade on, which makes my Reshade makes colors pop a little bit more. Now, what I'm going to be touching most in this is depth of field and pose. That's what I'm going to be touching the most in this whole menu thing. Depth of field off. Okay, I'm done touching pose. There's a lot of different options here. I'm mostly going to be using this, and this. So pose first. Where is the one I'm using? This one. This is the pose that I'm using. I have a pose mod that replaces them. So I'm using this. I'm going to make it happiness. I tried to record this earlier, but I accidentally paused it like 4 minutes in and didn't realize it. And also did some other things that ruined it. Anyway, so normal. Let me get back over here. Normal look at camera. Let's cover what that does. So if you notice, everything moves. Everything above the waist basically moves, which that's not how people move when they're posing for a photo. They will move their head, their eyes, they might move their torso a little bit, but not that much. So something that fixes that is appearance menu mod, tools specifically. This is also how you teleport around, but I can change it to head only. So only her head will move around, which is actually what I want. Eyes only makes it so that her eyes only move. Like they'll look around and up and down and all that stuff. But I want the whole head. Now that I have that done, I need to leave the camera here where I want her to be looking. And that's it for vanilla photo mode. One thing that I need to do is disable photo mode cursor because I'm taking the shot using Reshade, which takes a picture of whatever is on the screen, including the photo mode cursor. I'd have to hide it down here, but you can still see it a little bit. So I'm not doing that. Reshade, so the normal screenshot tool in Cyberpunk's photo mode hides the cursor while it takes the photo. Reshade, since it's not part of the game, kind of still captures it. It doesn't hide it. So if I took a photo right now, even the menu would be here using Reshade. If I took the screenshot in Cyberpunk, it would fade out everything except the picture, which is what I want. But Reshade doesn't do that on its own, so I need to disable the photo mode cursor, and now it's not there. It still functions, as you can see, but it just doesn't show up. Now, I could take this photo right here, but that's not what I want to do. So what I want to do is open up this thing here, IGCS. It is injectable generic camera service, I think. I might be getting the S wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if I was. And it has hot sampling, which makes the image bigger than your resolution, or it can. So an example is I can make it 1:1, which is Instagram sized. I can make it 4K. I can make it 5K. I can make it very big or very small. I'm not going to be touching that because it kind of messes with the recording. But you have all of your different aspect ratios here. The ones I use most are 16:9, which is my whole monitor. 1:1 for Instagram sized squares. 9:16 would fit on like a phone, like this. 9:16 is 9:16. I don't use any of these ones down here. I don't use 21:9 or 16:10. I don't use any of those. I don't really touch any of these much, but they're there. I'm not going to be hot sampling. So now that I'm done with that, now this camera is here. If I move it, her face will move. Now what if I want her to face this way, but want to take a picture like on the other side? So she's looking at something and not at the camera. Well, that's where IGCS comes in. So if I press, well, by default it's a different button, but I changed it because I didn't want it to interfere. If I press pause break on my keyboard, yes, it says camera enabled up in the corner. Now if I move the camera, I'm using a controller to move the camera because I like that better. It's smoother. Her face doesn't follow. Now with Reshade, what I have set up is I have a hotkey to enable cinematic depth of field, which is a shader in Reshade, which is all this stuff. Currently, all I have active that you can see is clarity and contrast, brightness, saturation. I also have real long exposure, but you can't see that yet. I'll show what that does in a second. And this numpad star, or asterisk, that cinematic depth of field is what I'm going to be messing with now. So it made the background depth of field happen. Now, one thing about this is if I get too close, the character blurs. If I get too far away, the character also blurs, which is intentional and exactly how I want it. Now, she's not blurred, but if we zoom in and get the shot that I want set up, which I want some tilt to it, you can see that there's this aura around the character, around here, that kind of flickers. Now, if I turn on the real long exposure, which is numpad minus for me because I set that up, it stops. And that's what real long exposure does. It kind of freezes the image. Now, I'll be using that in a second. So this is the shot that I want to take. Now, if I wanted it to be more character focused and less background stuff, I could do the 1x1 and it would crop it to around right in the middle of the screen. I'd probably have to adjust a little bit, but I'm not going to do that now because it really tanks performance, and with a recording going on and the game running and a few other things running in the background, it just destroys performance. So I'm not going to do that. But I will zoom in until I get a shot that I want to have. And then since it's all set up, it's ready. I press the minus to freeze it. And again, and if I'm on the real long exposure thing, like now it's on, and I press the depth of field button, nothing happens because the exposure is on and it already has the image. Now if I turn off exposure, the cinematic depth of field comes back. That's kind of what the exposure does. It kind of just freezes the image. You can change it, but it won't show up until you disable and re-enable. So that's what I just did there. And now it's enabled again. So now this is the image I'll be getting. And if I press page down, which is my capture button, it's different by default, I think, but I changed it. You can see up in the top, screenshot captured and saved successfully. So let's investigate that. If I open up the folder with my screenshots, we scroll up to the top, here it is. That's the shot we just took. And then you can see it without reshade there. You see the slight differences that reshade makes. Ignore the depth of field. Just look at the colors overall. They pop a lot more with the reshade on, which is exactly how I created it. I created the preset to do exactly that. And if you want this reshade preset, it is on the Nexus. It's under Enhancion, and it's under my username off of Twitch and YouTube, just Dogmas23. If you look on the Nexus, you'll see that. And 3 of my other mods, which are all clothing mods. The lipstick that my character has, let me zoom in on it. So the lipstick that the character has, here, where it's God, this is unwieldy right now. Where it has those slots, I guess. The lines where there isn't any. That's my mod. I personally made that. It's not available. And the pink cheek cyberware, which is normally gold, that is also not available on Nexus. I did both of those for personal use, so they won't be on Nexus, which will probably upset some people, but whatever. And in the rest of this shot, the arms are modded, as well as the pink seams in the arms, the collar, the eyelashes are, and the clothing is. Even the boots. All of the clothing is modded. The arms are modded. Some of the face is, not all of it. The character body is also an entire mod, like the skin is a mod. But yeah, so that's the shot. Another thing that I sometimes mess with, not for this shot, is Cyberlit. So let me show an example of what this does. So let's make a point light. Let's make it pretty intense. Just white, directional, sure, because that's usually what I do. Enable local shadows and contact shadows, and create it. That's what Cyberlit does. This is just a horrible example, but you can stick it to the camera and move it around. It's just a light. Unfortunately, you can't see actually where it is. So if I unstick it, because it was stuck to the camera, and now she has a backlight, which is cool. But you can do a lot more with it. I just wanted to show what it was, because that comes with the IGCS thing, specifically for Cyberpunk. And I can toggle it on and off to show the difference. Obviously, it looks funky because I didn't put much work into it. Normally, you wouldn't put the intensity this high, because it sits normally at 100, which there, you don't notice it as much. But when I turn it off, you do see that there's a slight difference. And it can look really good depending on how well you do it. I have done ones that look terrible, and I've done ones that look good. And I can actually show some of those. So, we have right here. This is one that I did yesterday with Cyberlit, and here it is without Cyberlit. So you can see the difference. The lighting on this one is much like it pops more. There's more to it. There's more depth to it. This one over here, there's no extra light. It's just whatever it was in the scene, which it was nighttime. It was around midnight, I think, in game. So there's not much light. There's some reflection here, probably from the moon. That reflection stays here, but I also added a bluish, a pale blue warden light, kind of adding to that. Oh, there's other light going on. And I added an orange light down here, somewhere down here. That kind of looks like headlights, even though this was on top of a trailer. But that's kind of what Cyberlit can do. Not the best example, but it is an example. Also, this is, see how it says original up here? That means it's without reshade. So if I actually open up the reshade version of that, which is here, you can see that the background is blurred, as it should be. But still, this has the lighting that looks cool. This one doesn't have the cool lighting. It's kind of flat. And that's what Cyberlit can do. And I really like it. Here's what the Instagram 1:1 size looks like, which I also really like this image. But it's square versus this, which is, rectangular. It's the full thing. I believe the size of that image is actually like big. No, it's not the big one. This is the big one. You can see I can zoom in, and it's still really detailed. But yeah, so Cyberlit and IGCS, they're Patreon things that you have to pay for. But I think they're more than worth it. And if I get out of normal photo mode without going back to the photo mode camera, this happens, which is real funky. But if I press the IGCS button, the pause break, I go back into the head and everything's normal again. So yeah, thank you so much for watching that brief, almost 15-minute tutorial. I appreciate it. I do plan on getting back to streaming and making YouTube content again soon. It's just I've had some health issues, so I haven't been able to. I'm feeling good right now, which is why I'm recording something. But yeah, I will see you whenever the next video comes up. And I hope you enjoyed this little brief tutorial and can benefit from it in some way. Yeah, catch you next time.